Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about the fear of aging. I wanted to talk about this because, well, if you're on TikTok, there is a filter that has been trending recently called the aged filter, where it literally ages you, and a lot of doctors and dermatologists and plastic surgeons have all said how accurate the filter is. I also tried out the filter yesterday with no makeup, glasses, no glasses, with natural light, and it was interesting to say the least. I'll just scooch over so I can put it up over here. But doing that video, it definitely intrigued me because first of all, it's very odd to see yourself aged, you know, when you're like young and you think about it, and then you start thinking about what it would be like to be that old, or how old is the aged part of the filter, like how old are they trying to show you? Because some people look really, really young, and then other people look really, really ancient. So it's definitely really interesting to think about it. It made me realize that a lot of people on TikTok have been preventatively doing a bunch of things to prevent ever looking old. Like I've seen multiple TikToks of girls starting Botox at 19 because they don't want to get wrinkles like ever. And I'm not 19. I've never gotten Botox before, and it's never even something that I've considered to get because I hate needles, and the idea of sticking needles in my face is kind of terrifying. But that has never been an idea that has circulated in my brain. But seeing so many girls who are so young talking about things like this, it really triggered something in my brain, and it made me go, geez, how long have we thought about aging in a negative light? And it just took me down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I started watching videos of people talking about why they're scared of aging and why they're not scared of aging. It was a lot, so I wanted to discuss that with you guys. Now, one thing we can say right off the bat is that aging is one of the most natural processes of life. It is going to happen to everyone. It happens to humans, it happens to animals, it happens to literally anything, right? I find it so odd that we are trying to we're trying to pause a moment in our life, which, I mean, you can't really pause time, but you know, people are trying to look the same way that they looked when they were like 20, even when they're 40, which is a little bit concerning, but people are trying to do that. And I mean, aging is just one of the most natural processes. It's going to happen. And I mean, people are trying to prevent wrinkles. Wrinkles are also a sign that you've lived a long and fulfilling life, if you think about it, because if you get smile lines right over here, that means you've smiled a lot. They've lived a very happy life, and you've been laughing a lot, and you've been smiling. Or crow's feet right here, another sign that you maybe squint too much, or maybe if you're anything like me, when I like laugh, if something is hilarious to me, my whole face kind of crinkles. Like I know I definitely would have the smile lines. My eyes get crinkled and my nose gets crinkled, so I tend to smile kind of like, I tend to laugh kind of like this. If something is funny, I kind of do a bit of this. So, you know, I know definitely that these are some of the wrinkles I'm gonna have, because it's hard to not move your face at all. That's the other thing. I've been seeing so many people on TikTok talk about how they're trying to train themselves into showing emotion without actually moving their face at all, in terms of like avoiding the forehead lines, in terms of avoiding these, you know, the lines that you get here when you do that, avoiding those lines, of trying not to smile as much so you don't get the smile lines. It's a whole lot. People are avoiding to do a lot of things in order to prevent wrinkles, or they're straight up just getting Botox and facelifts and whatever else. And I mean, it got me thinking, where does this fear of aging actually come from? Because is it as superficial? I hate to say the word superficial, but I just mean top layer. Is it as top layer as, you know, they just don't want to be physically beautiful anymore? Like they're scared of not being physically beautiful? Or is it they're scared of their body deteriorating? Or is it something a little bit deeper than that? Like, where does all of this actually come from? This innate fear that I know a lot of people, even I to some extent, have of getting older. And so I wanted to talk about that. I feel like a big, humongous reason as to why people are scared of aging is because it reminds us of death. People hate to think about death. You know, when you think about it, youth and everything surrounding youth and life. Youth is symbolized as a bit of life. You're considered to be vital, you're healthy, you're full of energy, you're empowered, and you're supposed to be strong, and everyone describes their youth as the prime of their life, and you know, they're like, oh, she's in her prime kind of thing. I totally understand that, but that doesn't, we shouldn't be demonizing getting old just because someone who is young is more energetic. You know, people learn a lot of things through their life, and a lot of things happen for people when they're older. A lot of the actors in Bollywood, they started getting more roles when they entered, I guess, the older phase of their life. We need to stop thinking about aging as, oh no, I'm running out of time to do things. We should just be thinking about it like, okay, it hasn't happened for me yet, but it might happen for me later on down the line. I feel like we also as a society need to stop thinking about death in such a negative light, because again, it happens to everyone. Everyone is going to die at some point. It is literally the most certain thing about life is that it's going to end one day. No one knows when it's going to end, how it's going to end for you, or how it's going to end for me. No one has any idea. That's okay. It's going to happen to anyone and everyone. It's a thing. And I feel like the less fear we have surrounding the idea of death, the less fear we will have surrounding the idea of getting older. I feel like for a lot of women in particular, I don't know how much this applies to men, especially because as men get older, they can still be considered attractive, as they will then be dubbed like a silver fox, or, you know, they get like the salt and pepper hair and people still find them very attractive. But I know for women, a lot of times it feels like our value is diminishing as you get older. It feels like you're being seen as less attractive and therefore you are less valued. I can see how that's the case, and that's especially the case in the entertainment industry. You look at the amount of actors and actresses that have had Botox or have had plastic surgeries in a pitch to look younger. A lot of times you will see it is the women who get these things done. Men don't feel the need to, because there is no outwardly pressure for them to look young forever. So I don't know why it's been put on women, and I hate the idea that for women, our whole identity and self-worth is put on how we look. It is so tiring. It's a fact, right? Like the way that you look when you're 16, you're not going to look like that forever. Because after you're 16, you'll become an adult. You know, you turn 18, maybe you stop puberty at 18. You go in your 20s. Your body changes when you're in your 20s. And then if you get married and you have kids, then your body changes after pregnancy. And even then, your body will change as you get older. Your metabolism gets slower. It's just a natural phase of life. So I feel like it's so incredibly exhausting to have to adhere to the way we once looked, or to adhere to this idea of beauty that is constantly being shoved down our throats. It's honestly, it's tiring, because I'm not gonna look how I looked when I was 16. I'm not even gonna look like this forever, you know, and that's all right. I guess another negative / another fear associated with aging is the idea that your body is deteriorating. And I can see how that one is really scary as well, because the idea of not being able to do the things that you once loved is scary. I mean, you get a whole bunch of aches and pains, and it's a scary thought. But to that, I would like to say that, first of all, if those things happen, the only thing you can do is try and deal with the situation as best as you can, right? There's no point, if you're like 60 and you've got achy knees and a bad back, there's no point cursing younger you for not doing things a certain way, or for being like, man, I should have lived my life better when I was in my 20s. No point doing that. If you're in your 60s and things are hurting, that's all right. You as a 60-year-old need to look after yourself. But I guess the same I would say for young people. Like, why are you living so recklessly? Like, when When I talk to people, I mean, I have told them a lot of times that I want my old lady body to be healthy. I try and stay up with things like yoga and Pilates, especially yoga. I am such a huge fan of yoga because it's one of the things that you can continue doing into your old age. It keeps you mobile, it keeps you limber, it keeps your joints flexible. And I cannot stress the importance of having like healthy bones and joints and having a healthy back for just living life. You know, I don't want to be an old lady living in pain because my joints are sore and everything hurts to move. That sounds terrible. So what I'm doing actively now in my 20s is I'm trying to, be as healthy as possible. I don't drink, like I hardly ever drink, maybe on social occasions, maybe, and even then I usually don't. So I try not to drink much alcohol. I don't smoke. I try and do yoga every day. I try and do Pilates every day. We try to go for walks. We try to do things that keep your body healthy. And you try to find a physical activity that can keep you healthy, but is also fun for you. I know swimming is a great activity that you can do now and even do when you're much older because it doesn't put pressure on your joints. Whereas running, you're constantly putting pressure on your knees and your ankles and all those. But things like swimming, things like yoga, things like walking, these are things that you can do even in your early 20s, even younger, and continue to do for as long as you want, really, because it's things that keep your joints they keep them in good health. So that's one thing I would say, is that if you're worried about getting old and your body maybe deteriorating, maybe try and do things now from a younger age, which you could use to potentially help you when you get older. Eating healthy, staying hydrated, low impact exercises that you love so you can continue to do them. Things like that. Meditation. I feel like a lot of times aging / rapid aging can come from things like stress. I say that, but I tend to be pretty stressed out. I get stressed out about everything. And I'm actively a very anxious person, and I will admit I'm not exactly the most positive person. A lot of times my instinct and first reaction is to be negative about things. So I am actively working on this, meditation, taking 5, 10, even longer, I don't know, taking a couple minutes out of your day to just meditate. There are wonderful guided meditations on YouTube. Taking the time out for mental health as well, to reduce stress, to reduce your cortisol levels, anything. Things like that are very, very helpful because stress can cause a lot of premature aging, can cause premature gray hair, it can cause a whole list of problems. So also keeping your stress levels low can also help with the idea of a deteriorating body as you get older, because these are things that you can do to make you as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And another thing I'd like to point out is the idea that it's a privilege to live a long and happy life. I don't have to look very far. I mean, I just have to look at my grandma. She's, I think, 80. I think she's exactly 80 right now. She's very active. She walks everywhere. She's able to walk up and down the stairs, no problem. She's like full of energy, full of life. She is, able to crack jokes. Because I know for a lot of older people, they get very philosophical when you try talking to them. My nanny's not like that at all. She's super on it. Her wit is still there. Her humor is still there. She's, an avid knitter, so she knits a lot. She just is, she's an example of how I'd want to be when I'm older, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. She keeps herself active. She doesn't have any aches or pains or body issues. She is doing great. And I think half of it has to do with her mentality. She is a very positive person, and she has everything happens for a reason, but if it's happening to me, how do I best deal with it mentality? And I kind of love that, and it's something I as a human need to adopt more in my life, because I kind of have the mentality of, oh my god, why does nothing ever work out for me? gonna be like this forever and nothing's ever gonna go my way and I'm just gonna die. Yeah, so I need to work on that. But definitely she is how I think I'd want to be when I'm older, you know, be able to walk. In fact, I'd want to be even healthier than her. I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to do everything with no problems. And yeah, that's what I mean by it's a privilege to live a long and healthy life, because my grandma is living a long and healthy life. And in a way, isn't that amazing? That's how humans are designed to be. We're designed to live long and healthy lives. And it's really upsetting when you hear about people passing away before they even get the chance to, I don't know, make it to 20 or make it to 30. I mean, these aren't ages that people should be dying in. We are intended to live long and healthy lives. We're intended to have wrinkles and gray hair and pass of old age. All these premature deaths are not something that's meant to happen. So in terms of like living a long and healthy life like we're supposed to, we should focus on health rather than the way that we look. And this is something that I'm actively trying to do for myself, because let's be real, I do have body standards. I don't like the way I look currently with my body, and I do have a lot of things that I want to change. And I guess one of the biggest shifts I've had to do with my mentality is changing my outlook from it's okay if my body doesn't look 100% like this person's body, who I assume has the perfect body, because as long as it's healthy, then it's okay, you know? And that I've had to do a big mental shift for that. And I still have days when I feel so terrible about the way that I look that it just sucks everything out of me. You know, it stops me from wearing the things that I want to wear. It stops me from doing a lot of things. So to that, I've had to actively change my mindset. I'm working out to be healthy, not to be skinny. Skinny is not healthy for a lot of people, you know? And as long as you're keeping fit and you've got a healthy regime, you're eating enough and you're eating healthy, but enough, you know? Eating enough to keep all of your hormones in check, to make sure that your period is still happening every month. Losing your period is terribly unhealthy, and you're staying hydrated, then it shouldn't matter what we look like. I'm trying to put that thought into aging as well, that as long as I'm a healthy individual, I'm a healthy lady, it doesn't matter how many wrinkles I have on my face, or it doesn't matter how gray my hair has become. As long as I'm healthy from the inside, I'm looking after myself and taking care of myself, that should be the utmost importance. And that applies to me now as a 22-year-old as well, which is easier said than done, because I see people who I'm like, wow, she has the most perfect body, and then I feel like not eating, or I feel like, you know, working out more, or I get really upset and I fall into a bit of a spiral where I'm like, oh my god, how come I don't look like her? It's a lot easier said than done. And I'm not trying to spew these ideologies as like you should do this. No, I'm simply just discussing it, and I'm discussing it because I too have had these thoughts. Hopefully that eliminates a little bit of the fear surrounding aging. I feel like one of the negative connotations with getting older is the idea that we as women specifically have a lot of societal milestones put on us, where it's like, oh, by the time, and we have it for ourselves as well, like personal milestones as well that we put on ourselves, that, you know, oh, look, I'm this old, and by this year I want to have this, and I want to have that, and I want to have this. So every time the birthday rolls around, a lot of times it can be a very negative feeling. I know for me, a lot of times my birthdays, I tend to hate them. It's such a catch-22, because a lot of times birthdays can be so triggering from that aspect. Like, it's the idea that, oh, I should have done this by now, or this should have happened to me by now. And the fact that it hasn't, it can feel really, really, really upsetting. Or even just people saying, oh, how old are you turning? Oh, turning like 23. Oh, geez, that's really old. Like when I meet people younger than me and I tell them, oh, I'm turning 23, they're like, oh, that's really old. By people younger than me, I don't mean other people in their 20s. I mean like family friends and kids who are like a lot younger. And then you start to think, geez, am I old? Geez, I'm old. And I hate that feeling. I hate that we've attached that we describe things as old. Like, why? Why are we doing that? And also the milestone thing, it's okay if you haven't reached your certain milestone at a certain point in time. You still have the rest of your life. So I mean, for me, I'm always like, okay, but maybe this is my year. I feel like in this video I'm going to be contradicting myself a lot, because not only am I trying to not have a fear of aging, I still very realistically have a fear of getting old. And one of the reasons I have that fear is because, well, a lot of times when I think about it, I'm like, oh, if I just die young, I'll never be old. I'll never have to live to see myself get old. And everyone will have an image of me being young forever in their mind. And if I'm a ghost, I will be a young, pretty ghost. And I'll be haunting everyone, but I'll be young and pretty when I do it. You know, which is such a stupid thing to say. I know a lot of the fear, for me at least, comes from the idea of outliving people. The idea of outliving everyone I've loved, or everyone that I'm friends with, or everyone like that, and just then purely just being alone with literally no one in your life, that is terrifying. I feel like another viewpoint that a lot of people associate a fear of getting old with is the idea, it doesn't have to be old like when you're considered elderly, but a lot of times just getting older year by year. When I think about it, I realize that I can't get my parents to do everything for me. Like, I can't get them to do everything for me because A, they're not going to stick around forever, and B, it's like once you're an independent adult, I can't just get them to sign things on my behalf or be like, yeah, she's all good to do that. Like, I have to do things for myself as I get older. Like, I'm not going to be part of my family's health insurance anymore once I hit 25, or I don't know how to be an adult. Like, the idea of just like figuring things out, like, when do people tell you how to do things, and how do you learn how to just do things? You know, like, are people literally just being thrown out into the deep end and being told, you'll figure it out? Because how? And the idea that I'm just gonna get old one day and I won't have my parents there to like help me along the way for the rest of my life, I don't like that idea. It's not a good idea for me. And I'm like, sure, I'll probably cope. It's like I'm trying not to be too worried about it, but you know, it's definitely a thought that has crossed my mind. And like, I hate being the oldest one in the room. Like, if I'm hanging out with people and then they all tell me their age and they're all younger than me, I kind of hate that. I don't like that. That's why I don't want to date anyone who's younger than me, because I don't like the idea of being older. I feel like another fear of aging that I have discovered that I have as well in my brain is the idea of not being perceived as cool anymore for the younger people. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm cool now to the young folks. By that I mean like friends of my brother, like the people who are around my brother's age, which is like that 14 to 16 age range. My brother is 15. But like that age range, it's like I'm already older than them, and I avoid kids and teenagers in that age range like the fucking plague. I avoid them so hard. One time I was at a family friend party and I was outside and these girls laughed at me for something. They laughed. Yeah, like they like giggled, they side-eyed me, and they laughed. I have never been more annoyed or pissed off in my life. I ran inside the house. I found my mum, because I'm a grown-up. I found my mum and I told her that I'm not hanging around with those girls because they scare the shit out of me. I don't want to deal with them, and do not, I repeat, do not make me sit with them, because if I sit with them, I might do something that you won't be very happy about, you know, or I might break into tears. Point is, do not get me to sit next to them or interact with them. And she understood it, but oh my god, that was one of the most mortifying feelings that had ever happened to me, where I thought I was doing something normal. I thought I was being cool. And then these girls just erupted in laughter. Like, they just erupted in laughter, and it literally, I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. It's the worst feeling. Like, I'm fine with being in a group that is like my age, and then we all just don't understand something. That's fine. But if you're like younger and you're like, oh, how could you not know that? Oh, right, because you're so old. I hate the idea of being uncool, even though I have proven myself to be uncool with younger people a lot of times. A lot of times I have done things where I'm like, gosh, that was so uncool. That was so uncool in front of younger people. But yes, that was what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the fear of getting older. And yes, I understand it can be a scary thing, but hopefully I've either echoed your opinions, because clearly I'm a little terrified of aging as well. So maybe I've echoed your opinions, and maybe, at least when I was being a little bit less existential, maybe I helped you through that fear of getting old. Because I can say for myself, at least, when I thought of all these things, it definitely helped my brain be a little less scared of getting old, you know? So maybe it's done the same for you. Like, it's still scary, and I'm not trying to say that, oh, you should not be scared of anything ever, and especially not aging. No, it's fine to be scared, but it's also fine to understand that it's a natural process and it just happens. And I guess the more positively that you think about it, the more positive it will be, you know, because a lot of things are linked to your mentality, your mental health, and how you think of things, right? So I guess the more positive that you think of a situation, the more positive the situation will be. And that's what I'm trying to think about when it comes to getting older. So yeah, I'll try not to have a breakdown on my 23rd birthday. But yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you share some of the same opinions as me. Maybe you do. Maybe you're like, why are you so crazy? I don't know. Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'd love to read through them. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That's it for this week's video. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.